Hello and welcome to the North Branford Recycling Center. My name is Michael Valenti, and today it is the Recycling and Electronic Waste Day, where the town of North Branford is collecting anything from printers, televisions, computers, monitors, cell phones, a whole lot more. The town of North Branford is collecting all of that today. If you got it, they're going to take it. They're going to put it apart, and they're going to use the parts for other things. And, you know, we're going to talk about more about that, the process of it. Also, Goodwill is here collecting textiles and clothing. We'll talk to them about what they're doing and a whole lot more. I'm here with Mike Martin. He is part of the committee for the Hazardous Waste and Recycling Committee, pretty much the people that are in charge of arranging this today. Now, Mike, can you tell us a little bit more in depth what's going on today?
Well, this is a quarterly event that we hold. We're most interested in getting stuff out of the trash stream that doesn't belong there. So electronics, that sort of thing. We have the quarterly events like this for people to bring old TVs, cassette recorders, whatever they may have that's electronic, basically defined as anything that's battery operated or with a plug. So we have a company that comes from Massachusetts, and they pick up all the recycling material. They take it back to their facility, literally disassemble it by hand. And when I was talking with them, they said that they reclaim over 90% of the material, which kind of shocked me. I thought it would be 30–40% and the rest would then go back into trash, but actually removes it from the trash stream. And that's really important for Branford residents, because North Branford residents, because trash costs us money. Recycling, we actually almost make a little money on it. So the less stuff you could put in your brown trash barrels every week and more into recycling, all the better. And events like this for the bulky electronic stuff is the whole purpose of the event.
Now, you said you make a little bit of money recycling as opposed to trash. How do you make money with the recyclables?
Well, it's mostly the getting it out of the trash stream, and it's the company that takes the all the recycling material, and they break it down and they make a profit on the materials. There's a lot of precious materials in these items, so they reclaim that, and that's where the profit comes from.
Okay, now you're taking pretty much anything you said that's with a plug or a battery. That could be anything from cell phones.
Yes.
Computers,
absolutely,
televisions. I've seen some of these. I've seen some of these televisions that were like made in 1965. One of like the original televisions. How heavy are these guys getting a workout today?
The guys are getting a workout, and I think what surprises me the most are the people who show up with them. I keep wondering, how did you get this out of your house? I know what some of these things weigh, so it's impressive that people got it here, and we thank them for that.
You do this quarterly. So when's the next one after today?
It'll be in July. I don't know that we've set a date yet, but it'll be in July, and then one probably late September, October. And then we're looking at the winter one. It's been weather-wise, as you know, this has been quite a winter. We've had to do some postponing. So we're debating whether to do the winter one or not, just because conditions can be so tough for everybody.
Right, it definitely is. You got a beautiful day today, Mike, and I see the pile behind us. If you want to take a look at that, right behind us, a lot of computers, a lot of televisions, and a whole lot more. Mike, thank you for the time.
You're welcome.
Goodwill is here today to collect textiles and clothing as one of the major parts of the Recycling and Electronic Waste Day here at the North Branford Recycling Center. Now we're going to talk to one of the employees that's here doing the collecting today, also Tom Shelfo, who is the Vice Chair of the Recycling and Hazardous Waste Committee here in North Branford, to give us a more in-depth look at what's going on today with the textiles and clothing. I'm here with Sigma McQueen. He's here with Goodwill today, collecting things that aren't exactly electronics, but still can, help out in the recycling part. Now, what are you collecting today?
Textiles, meaning clothing, toys, any small electronical things, pretty much anything, in a sense, anything.
And what you take today, where does that go?
It goes back to our warehouse, and it gets separated for distribution wherever,
Okay. And does it get resold? Does it get?
Yes, resold, or some of the stuff they put them in bundles in a sense. So if they can't sell it in the store, they will pretty much put it in bundles and sell it as bulk, like with weight.
Right. So, for example, you said you guys are taking games, so they might do like a game bundle, like a video game bundle.
There you go. Well, no, not with that. Only bundles would be like clothes. That's it.
Okay.
The toys and all that other stuff, pretty much, yes, it goes out on the floor. If it doesn't sell, they pretty much put it back in the warehouse, whatever.
Now you're here by yourself with this
sir.
huge truck, that is going to be filled by the end of the day. Who's going to carry all this? You're not carrying it all by yourself.
Yeah, when I get back to the warehouse, I got my helpers there, so I'll be all set.
Sigmund, thank you for the time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So we all know with electronics, as soon as you buy it, it's already too old for you, right? Now, you think because it's too old, there's no more use for it, right? Well, I'm here to tell you that's absolutely wrong, because MetTech Recycling, who's here today collecting all the electronics, are here to take your parts and turn them into something better. Now, they take all these monitors, all these computers, all these towers, all these televisions, all these laptops, and they reclaim about 95% of what they collected today and put them into new parts. Now, I'm going to talk to Jim Ross, who is the owner of MetTech Recycling, to tell you exactly what the process is, and let me tell you, it's very interesting.
When the stuff comes in at our plant, we weigh it, and then everything gets dismantled by hand. Plastics get placed with plastics, metals with metals, circuit board with circuit board. Almost everything gets shredded and sent downstream to our partners, where 95% of what we touch is recycled.
And it pretty much, are they sold as parts? Do they go into newer versions of televisions and monitors? What exactly happens to them?
Commodities to be remanufactured into something else. Most of the plastics, unfortunately, go overseas because that's where they're making the stuff that they're selling back to us. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the metals go overseas, where the plants are over there now that are making all the equipment that comes back here.
What is the one item, if you had to pick one item that you get the most parts out of, that turns into the best turnaround?
The towers, the computer towers.
And what happens to those? Do those turn into newer towers?
The plastics and the metals are turned into newer towers. The circuit board is melted down for the precious metals inside. There's gold and platinum on the board, some silver. And it's a process of a cyanide bath that melts it down in a large tank. And then at a certain level in that cyanide will be your gold, that's the heaviest, and then silver and on.
So someone has a computer that's 5, 6 years old and it's just completely slow, and they're thinking about just putting it to the side and let garbage pick it up. You're telling them otherwise, because it could turn into their computer 6 years from now when they have to buy a whole new one.
Correct. And also we reuse computer equipment, where if it's 3, 4, 5 years old and people don't want it here, we wipe it, test it, and we broker it through a broker market to Central and South America, because down there, that's new stuff to them.
Right. Well, it's a very impressive process that goes through, and you have a ton of guys working with you today. How many guys here today?
There's 4.
4 guys, and you guys are carrying all the heavy stuff. What was the heaviest thing that you had to lift today?
The Sony Trinitrons are the heaviest TVs there are. We've had some on the scales at work up to 360 pounds for one TV. And that's because of the CRT glass that's inside. It's a thick leaded glass.
So it's not what's actually in the TV, it's what's on the TV.
Exactly. That big tube. And that is, in our trade, that is the item of concern, the CRT glass, because it contains lead and mercury. And we have to take the TV apart, segregate the tubes, and send them downstream where they're cut in pieces, the lead taken out and sent to a smelter. The glass is made into cutlets and sent to India to be made into new CRT glass.
So the next time you had a big, TV or computer that you want to get rid of, don't put it on the side of the street, because it's hazardous that way, and there's really nothing you could do about it. Jim here with MetTech, they'll take it and turn it into something that's going to be better for not just you, but for the environment. Jim, thank you for the time. Propane is one of the hottest topics going on right now in North Branford, but today it's one of the hottest items you could bring down to the recycling center. And we're going to talk to Tom Shelfo right now to tell us exactly what they do with the propane tanks here at the recycling center.
The propane tanks get collected and recycled. So we charge $1 for a propane tank to be recycled, up to 100 pounds. And I don't know how many people have a 100-pound propane tank. It's a pretty big tank. Normal one's a 20-pound. And then it's $10 if you manage to have a tank that's bigger than 100 pounds. And then we also take some of the tanks look like propane tanks, but they're actually for helium. So they're kind of the red ones. And those are actually more expensive. They cost $5 for recycling. So we collect the money from the people that drop it off. It goes to the town, and the town recycles it.
And where do the tanks, after they're recycled, what happens to those tanks?
Well, they become, most of them, if they're in good condition, get refurbished. So the company that recycles them basically cleans them up, repaints them, and gets used again. But for ones that are in bad condition, a lot of them get rusty because they're outside with barbecue and whatever. Then those get, they're emptied, and then they get turned into scrap metal.
Now, Mike Martin, we talked to him a little while ago, and he told us about the company that's here today to collect the electronics. We also talked to someone at Goodwill. Can you tell us a little bit more about the textiles and what's going on with the collection of that?
Yeah, so today this is actually an experiment for us. So we've never done this before. And Goodwill is here to see how many people can drop stuff off. And Goodwill, at least the intent here is to drop off things that could potentially be reused, resold by Goodwill. We are looking into expanding the textiles to include a company that can collect pretty much anything. So if you were to have rags, some people look at clothing and say, well, it looks kind of ratty, so who would want to, you're not going to resell this. But those kind of clothing actually gets turned into rags. And if you go with the right kind of company, about 95% of all textiles, pillows, bed sheets, all that kind of stuff, clothing, sneakers, all that stuff can actually be reused. So maybe not as clothing, maybe as rags or filling for a pillow or whatever they do with it, stuffing for a stuffed animal, So we are looking into a company that can collect that, and they would be little boxes that we put around town in convenient locations for people to drop off pretty much anything. But Goodwill today is collecting furniture and things that could potentially be resold.
So even if I had like a pair of jeans that I'm not wearing anymore because there was a rip in them.
Exactly. Yeah, that would the company that we're looking at will be happy to take that kind of thing because they can turn it into rags or some other use for them so it gets recycled. So that's a good thing.
So this isn't the only time of the year that this recycling event happens. It happens quarterly, according to what Mike Martin told us. So when this happens again, and he said about July, there's not a date set yet, but the people watching today could know that any clothing, whether there's a rip in it,
right, hang on to it. Hang on to it because the plan is it would be a different company, wouldn't be Goodwill, but the plan is to go with another company that can accept stuff that's regardless of condition. Pocketbooks and bed sheets and all kinds of stuff that could be ripped and you're not going to reuse it and it's not going to be resold at a Goodwill store, but it can still be used and recycled for other purposes.
What about shoes that were chewed up by the dog?
Yep, that's perfect. They take that, sneakers that have holes in them that people have used, especially our hope is to be able to get them next to the schools because the kids go through an awful lot of sneakers. We used to collect sneakers because it was easy to recycle through a Nike program at one time, but Nike stopped doing it, so we don't collect the sneakers anymore. But when we did, a lot of kids would bring sneakers down. So.
Tom, thank you for the time.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I definitely learned a lot about recycling today, and I know now I'm going to be recycling a lot more than just cans and bottles. I'll take my computers, my monitors, my televisions, and a whole lot more, and I'll bring them down here to the North Branford Recycling Center. So the next time you think about throwing out your computer or your television, bring it down here to the North Branford Recycling Center. They do this collection every quarter. From everyone here at Totoket TV, my name is Michael Valenti saying so long from the North Branford Recycling Center.